Pennautier has been here since 1620 and is still owned by the same family, for 10 generations on. It's called Pennautier because it's in the village, it's called Pennautier, and it used to be the mairie of the village, so it used to be the centre of the village. You have, so the building was built in 3 phases. Can anyone guess which part of the building was built first?
Not the middle. Not the middle.
Well, no, not the middle, otherwise I wouldn't ask. It's the 2 highest left and right wings. They were built first, and the centre part wasn't built until many, many years later. It was used as a courtyard to begin with. It used to be the start of fashion at the time. So he built these first 2 parts. The person who built that was Bernard de Reich de Pennautier. So in English, it's Bernard the King of Pennautier. He kept the chateau from 1620, and in 1670 he gave the chateau to his son, so Pierre-Louis, King of Pennautier, who came along and added 3rd phase of construction. Anyone know? The side pieces. He loved to dance and he loved Molière, so what he did was he added the ballroom, which is here, which we now use for weddings and business seminars, and the orange room, which is where they used to grow all the oranges. Now we use it mainly for business seminars. We do occasionally do a few weddings there as well. It stayed like that for years and years and years until 1850. Pierre-Louis, so King of Pennautier, didn't have any children, so he gave the chateau to his nephew. By that, it changed slightly in name. It went King of Reich de Pennautier. And he came along, so Rodolphe came along, and he added, finally, in 1850, the centre part here, which brought the whole chateau together. It's given it a 100-metre long facade. And has anyone been to Versailles before?
Yes.
Lucky you, I haven't. But it's called Le Petit Versailles du Languedoc, so the small Versailles of the Languedoc. And it is because basically Rodolphe called upon Le Vaux for the architecture of the chateau, and Le Vaux was the person who designed the Versailles, and Le Nôtre for the gardens. So we just turn around and look at the gardens for a little minute. If you look at the gardens, you can see here, it looks quite small, but we actually have 30 hectares here of gardens. You have our vineyards, which is our Chardonnay wine. You can see that the very geometrical side of the garden is the French style, and the big trees is the English style. We'll see plans more detailed about that later. You have, on top, you have the cast of arms of each family. In 1910, the last woman to have the Pennautier name got married to Lorgeril, which is why you've probably seen, whilst coming in, Lorgeril written everywhere. When you go to the restaurant, you'll see it all over the wine as well. It's the name of Christian de Lorgeril, who married Paul de Pennautier in 1910. And you can see here the cast of arms of the Pennautier family, which is the duck, and the stars, which is Lorgeril, and them meeting together. And underneath, you've got Terra Patria, Tarior Libertas, which is my patriarch is important to me, but my freedom even more. And that's the family device.
Are we allowed to take photos?
I was just about to say,
Thank
please don't. So this room, which is called the Salon Choiseul, so the lounge of the Choiseul, I'll tell you about the Choiseul in a minute, is actually at the moment quite empty, because normally we have chairs here. It's just we've had a business seminar today, because the family live here, so this is what they use when they stay here. This is the lounge in general. And it's called the Lounge Choiseul, because the Choiseul is this person here. It's the family, and he is the Duke of Choiseul, who was Minister of Foreign Affairs under Louis XV. And they are a very noble family. They married into the Lorgeril family well before Lorgeril married into the Pennautier family. And when they came and married into the family, they brought along their belongings, which is why we're lucky to have all these paintings. This is a Van Loo painting, which is a very famous artist of his time. And you can see in the portrait, you have the plans of Vauban. Vauban was the architect and engineer of the Canal du Midi, so he worked alongside Ulrike. Okay. You have over here his brother, and you have here his father, who is the Marquis of Stainville. You've probably noticed on the floor this lovely mosaic. The mosaic is from Italy and is from the 19th century and was brought back by Jacques de Pennautier, who was Rodolphe's, the third owner's father. And that's Nicolas. So Mireille and Nicolas are still classed as the Count and Countess. And they're the owners of the chateau. Nicolas is the person who actually inherited the chateau. And their youngest daughter, Blanche. These aren't all of their grandchildren. They only have two, and they had a third son born this year in Carcassonne on the 10th of August. You have above you a gorgeous chandelier, which is crystal and which is from the 18th century. And you have on these tables this marble, which is from Minervois. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Yeah? Well, fantastic. Well, it's not far away. And we can know it's from Minervois because of the colours. It's very pinky. So if you'd like to look, please don't hesitate to take any photos or ask any questions. Here we have books behind the grates which are from the 17th century, which are next to you as well. Most of them have gone to the local archives, and this is a place where people used to go before going to bed to have their cognac and they smoke their cigars. I think it would make a fantastic pub now. All of us have pubs, but the owners don't agree. So, in 1620, the owner Bernard de Reich de Pennautier, so the King of Pennautier, well, the mayor now, but he was a good king. In 1620, and here are his two parents. In 1622, he was lucky to host the king, to have the kings to come and stay over on his travels to Perpignan. Back then, they didn't have their problem with Ryanair cases. They could bring as much luggage as they wanted. So what they did was they came along and bought his furniture. So this furniture here has been here since 1622 and belongs to the king, Louis XIII. You have the bed, which is very small. Does anyone know why?
Is that a little?
Oh, I heard the answer. Yes, it's left sitting up, exactly. And so the bed is slightly elevated on the other side. You have at the back here, you have the chimney, which is from the 19th century, which was built in two phases. The bottom half was from the 19th century, and the top half was from the 20th century. The top half was added to put the cast of arms of the Choiseul family on it. We have here a company of India, which was a French company from 1664, founded by Colbert. And he started up the company for the import of china from India with hand-painted flowers. Very important now. I don't exactly know why, but it was important. You have here, you have China, Saks China, which you recognise as a German company, and they always, we know it's Saks China because they're little figurines. People who can't see later, we will do a rotation. Okay. So you have above the chimney. If everyone who's over there looks at this painting, you will not see anything. And it's not a play on light, it's actually intentional. It's he plays on the surface, exactly. He plays on the surface, and so it makes you not be able to see anything from over there. But if you look from here, you can see it's Vesuvius. It's a Vesuvius eruption with people in front. You've probably noticed the clock, and that is a cartel clock, and it's from the 18th century. And the marble, yet again, in the fireplace is, like I said earlier, from Condomination. And it's gone white at the bottom because of the heat. Behind here we have the Duke of Choiseul again, so the same person who was in the first painting that I showed you earlier. You have some more portraits of him under here. And here you have Jacques de Pennautier. Jacques de Pennautier was Rodolphe de Pennautier's father, so the third person who built Chateau's father. He travelled a lot because he was in the army. So this is the Pink Lounge. This is part of the original construction, so in 1620. And we say it was redesigned later on, and we say is the perfect style of what a French 18th century lounge used to look like. So you have the bookshelf at the back here, which you can see the books have been there for a long time because the shelves are all holding on to each other. You have books from the 17th century, and you have lots of family portraits. So you have the last woman to hold the Pennautier name with her 3 sons. And just there you have Christian de Lorgeril, so the person that she married. And you have the chandelier from the 18th century. Something you'll probably notice is that above the doors we have paintings too. and then the frame is actually made around them. And this is still currently used as the dining room, so when the family heads to eat and have their breakfast, rest. You can see on the walls some very interesting tapestry. It's quite an interesting story. 2 years ago, when they were renovating, when Nicolas and Hélène took over the chateau, so in 1972, they were rummaging around in the undergrounds and found these tapestries. So we don't actually know who gave them to the chateau. We don't know where they came from, but we found them on the chateau in the grounds, and it's the life story of Julius Caesar. So you have Julius Caesar here greeting his mother. You have him here asking Cleopatra to marry him, and here, many years later, being assassinated. You have here a chandelier which is from 1755, which is entirely made out of bronze. So here we have the ballroom. The ballroom was added so in 1670 by Pierre-Louis. And what's quite interesting about this room is you'll probably notice the mosaic on the floor, and you'll probably notice that it's been damaged. That happened this year and it's going to be renovated. But what we wondered was, how come in such a short amount of time we damaged the floor, whereas when Nicolas and Marianne took over the chateau, it was in perfect condition. And what they've done is they've actually covered the floor for dancing with floorboards. So the floor was floorboards, and it used to be easier to dance. It used to bounce off more, and it protected the floor for many, many years. But it's quite funny seeing a photo which was dated back many, many, many years ago, and the room actually looks in worse condition than it does now. You look at it now, it's a lot. Behind you, you have somebody. Can anyone guess who he is?
14.
Exactly. Who said that? You? You have here plans of the chateau. So you have plans of the chateau before the centre part was built, and a few years later when the centre part was built. So that is Pierre-Louis de Pennautier, the second owner of the chateau, and he came along with a stove. He had the same style. All the notable people back then wanted to look like him, and it's straightforward. It's serious. Because it's on the south side. Now this part was added on later, in 1850, so it's the same as the bottom half. And this is now called the Honour Lounge. And what's really interesting about here is, number one, the fabric which is used through, which is solid through throughout the whole wall, the walls, the furniture and the curtains are all done in the same sort of colours, as you can see. You have on the curtains, you have the cast of arms yet again, and the family device of Pennautier and Lorgeril. And you have on the ceiling a very pretty painting. And that was done by a famous Toulouse artist who was Evangeline. And it was done in 1855, and it's actually the king. So you have here the king, surrounded by angels, and underneath you can see the people of the land, and you have the demon. Obviously, Nicolas doesn't have the same clothes or the same moustache or beard, but they look very similar. You have here a chest from which used to be suitcase, which is Italian. And you have behind me Marie Antoinette. You look straight through, and we'll go through old entrance to the village. Because the chateau is also away. You guys go on. So this is Rodolphe de Pennautier, so the third owner of the chateau. He came along and built the centre part of the chateau, this is before construction. And here he had his wife, Augustine, who wasn't here, she was at Chateau, and that's the main thing her. We're not allowed to put anything on the walls. This is a general rule throughout the whole chateau, unless it was from the same period when it was built, unless we've had a permit to do it. So we weren't allowed to add these later because these were taken as well from the underground along with the other tapestries. Even when you weddings here, no one's allowed to put it on the walls.
Hebben we een metal?
Kijk.